Hey everybody, welcome to Dad Talk. Today we are live at Turning Point in Tampa, Florida, and I am here with Congresswoman Kat Cammack. Kat, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Doing really good. So tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
So I am the youngest Republican woman serving in Congress today.
Sweet. Awesome.
Yes, I'm very proud to represent Florida's 3rd Congressional District, which is north central northeast Florida. So Ocala, Gainesville, suburbs of Jacksonville, go Gators, Gator Nation. And I really am the quintessential non-politician. You know, I went from homeless to the House of Representatives, first in my family to go to college.
Good for you.
Really want to just take on the challenge of representing the next generation in Congress, but also fighting for the issues that conservatives have kind of ceded the narrative to. Talking about environment, talking about homelessness, opioid, poverty. These are the issues that conservative principles we win on. We have the plans, we have the policies to fix these problems, but we're so scared to talk about these issues because for the longest time the left has dominated the narrative on them.
So one thing I like it is when I hear you say you're not a politician. You went from homelessness to where you are right now.
Yeah.
That lets us know you're one of the people. You've been
Yeah,
there. You
one
know
of
what
us.
it's like to be in the trenches facing these problems, and that's who we need to represent us because you know what it's like to be in that situation. Tell us a little bit about the homelessness, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so I'm a 3rd generation commercial sandblaster. Grew up the daughter of a single mom, grew up on a small cattle ranch, and I had a whole life plan to be a businesswoman, be a CEO. And unfortunately, man plans, God laughs. And so when I was getting ready to graduate college, we learned that we were losing our small cattle ranch due to an Obama-era housing program. And we found ourselves homeless for several months. And that's when I decided I cannot put my head back in the sand. People in Washington allowed this bill to pass. They allowed this program to exist because they didn't bother to read the bill. And so my family, along with 7 million other Americans, lost their homes because of this legislation. It was garbage legislation. And so my thought process was, why is Congress not doing anything about this? If it's not programs that outright steal people's futures and their homes, they're taxing us into oblivion. They're spending our children and our grandchildren's futures, garnishing their wages. They are regulating business out of business. They're opening borders. They are doing everything but what they're supposed to be doing. And so I took a stand and said, listen, if there's any point in my life where I can move across the country and fight to help people get elected that are willing to take on big government, because I believe that a small, more responsive local government is best.
It is. Yeah.
Because I believe that the individual knows best for themselves and for their families, not government.
Right.
If I can do that, I'm going to do that. And that's what's led me to this point and to this path. And I'm just very lucky and honored and blessed to have taken that moment in time where it was, the chips are down and, you feel hopeless, and taken that and gotten here. But only in America is that possible.
Yeah, sure.
Only someone like me who could do that.
You
in America.
talked about homelessness, the opioid crisis, and the common denominator as far as risk factors is a broken family and fatherlessness.
Yeah.
And we look at some of the federal incentives, like Title IV of the Social Security Act, that actually financially incentivizes women to be single moms, women to rely on welfare, rely on the state versus
Have more children.
So, when we look at these problems, we say, but fatherlessness and the broken family is sort of the root of all this. So how do we get in there on a congressional level and we fix it and sort of make families great again?
And that's the interesting dynamic, because I've said for so long, we're never going to legislate our way out of this mess.
Right.
Because so much of what has happened is cultural.
Yeah.
It is really an underlying root cause where we tend to legislate retroactively, and we're not being proactive. We're in response to a cultural movement. And so I'm like, how do we fix this? Well, we can use the purse strings to incentivize or disincentivize, and that's where Congress plays that role. But I think more than that, we need leaders at the highest echelons who are promoting a full family structure.
Right.
But I also think that we need to take a more holistic approach and say, you know what? There's a lot of situations where a broken family doesn't have to mean a broken life forever. And being the product of a single mom who raised me, I definitely think that we as conservatives have done a poor job in saying it's okay if things didn't work or something happened. Because I've talked to a lot of single moms who feel like the conservative movement has left them behind when they really felt like the conservative movement supported their beliefs, their principles. But I think through our actions, really upholding the family unit, the family structure, and showing how critical it is for keeping the family strong, for keeping our community strong, and then ultimately keeping our nation strong, that's where we have to come back to.
You know, I think there's a lot. I was raised by a single mother. Unfortunately, my situation was because she alienated my father and she kept him away from us.
Oof.
So I think the problem is we have a crisis, a family crisis.
Yes.
But a lot of these men, when they go to court and they fight to be an equal parent, or they fight for that, the laws are written such a way where 83% of the time, like, the courts side with the moms. And we have really good fathers out there fighting to be in their kids' lives, but then the laws, the cultural norms, like you brought up, is just like where single motherhood is almost something that we're celebrating. When we should be celebrating families. But back to these federal incentives, like in the LBJ area, all these policies were implemented. We've gone through Democratic administrations, we've gone through Republican administrations, and everybody acknowledges that these incentives are incentivizing broken homes and fatherlessness, but nobody's doing anything about it.
Yeah, and I mean, that's exactly it. We take it to one echelon higher, where you have people in government who think, oh, us in government, we can make decisions that are for you and your family because you don't know well enough how to take care of your family. Yeah. And then you have the other side that say, no, I think the government works for us. We need to promote culture and policies that empower families and empower people who want to do right as an individual and for their communities and their families.
Right.
And it's truly a different dynamic. It's the difference between equal opportunity and equal outcome.
Right.
And that's really the fight that we're having right now in America.
Well, and I agree with you. We can't legislate ourselves out of this, but it's legislation that's kind of gotten us there and gotten the government involved. How do we get the government out of it? I don't believe our government should have been inside of our marriages or inside of our families in the first place. We gave them that control. How do we take that back and give it back to we the people?
I think we got to get back to the basics. Yeah. Really, when you elect people, they should be constitutional conservatives, because the Constitution is the roadmap. It is basic, the outline of the chalked playing field. These are the things that the government can do, should do, and cannot do. It's very clear. And when we start getting out of control, we see the federal government playing in the space where the 10th Amendment is clear that it should be the states' rights issue. Yep. Things like education, for example. Right. We need to actually have people elected who say, no, we're going to rein in the Department of Education and ultimately abolish it and return all that information, all that power, all that funding back to the states, because the state is the one who is supposed to be handling that issue. We need people who really are truly constitutionalists, because without that...
That's our skeleton.
Yeah, that is the backbone. And every time we elect someone who says, well, we're going to operate under the General Welfare Clause, they undermine the very fabric of what has made this country great. Our Constitution has given us a roadmap to prosperity, to greatness, to really seeing a prosperous nation beyond anything that the world has ever seen. And we do so much to try to protect it, while the left does twice as much to attack it and undermine it. And that's why if we get back to those constitutional principles, our country will be so much better. Our family units will be so much better off. We will see prosperity beyond our wildest dreams, but we have to get back to basics.
And getting it at that state level, that has its challenges too. I know here in the state of Florida, they had some legislation. I want to say it was 2016, 2018.
Yeah.
It's called shared parenting legislation. They passed it in Arkansas about 3 months ago. They passed it 3 years ago in Kentucky. In the first year that this was implemented, domestic violence went down 30%.
Wow.
What it seeks is to give equality in family court 50-50. If divorce happens, we'd rather the nuclear family be together.
Right.
But if divorce happens, mom and dad would be equal unless one of them does not need it. There would still be that discretion there. It got all the way through the House, got all the way through the Senate, and the governor vetoed it not once,
Rick Scott
but twice. But twice. And this is legislation. These were dads that got together and fought to get this legislation going. But society would tell you these guys are deadbeats. They're abandoned, and there are some of those deadbeats. We know that there are. There's deadbeat everybody's. You got the people that don't want to do anything and want everything gave to them. But at the same time, these were guys that were fighting to get that in there, and it just felt like they was completely canceled. So at the state levels fell on us too, and then we try to talk on the federal level. Some of these guys they're giving up hope. They really are giving up hope. And in the middle of the fatherless crisis right now, when we've got the highest suicide rates that we've ever had, and the amount of our families are breaking down, I mean, any idea or solutions on something that we could do on the federal level to maybe reverse some of that back, to give that power back to the people, like we was talking about, getting back to the basics? Like, where do we start as a people to make this start happening.
Well, and I think, again, it starts at really getting engaged at the local level.
Right.
Because we always constantly are looking to the federal government to fix things, and that's
Right.
where they get their power. They say, oh, you have a problem, we'll fix it, and then they take ownership of it, and then they make you pay
Good
for
point.
it.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
when we empower our local officials, and I'm talking from the school board,
Yes.
from the city commission, the county commission, when you start empowering those people, and they have more authority locally, they can do things that impact our daily lives in a positive way that the federal government will apply a broad brush stroke of one-size-fits-all government. And that's super dangerous.
Thank you for saying that, because you just explained it to me in the first time that somebody's explained it to me, that it really sticks. It makes sense, you know? And that local level is so important. People want to bypass that thinking I can just get it all in one swoop.
Yep.
It's going to take some hard work. We didn't get here,
does.
overnight. It's
right.
going to take some hard work and getting out there and pounding the ground, guys, getting some grassroots going.
Exactly.
And guys, she's down to earth. She's
I love it.
She's hilarious, you guys. And we just haven't even met her that long, but she's the real deal. She's down to earth. I think if you called her, she would have a conversation with you. And what she's saying is true. There's a lot of people who follow us who say, look, the family court system is failing me. And you're great at emailing us with your criticism. She's telling you this is what you have to do if you want to make change. And it does start on a local level. So take what she's saying to heart.
Yeah, don't be
Great.
shy. Reach out
Right.
to your local representatives, your state representatives, your governor, your city commissions. Reach out to the people in your community, because that is really what it's going to take to coalesce a message that's going to affect positive change. And I would just encourage everyone, the more time that you focus on the federal level and your federal legislators trying to fix every problem, the more power they get. And as I said, they're going to make us all pay for it. Eventually, in the end, through taxes, through regulations, they are going to take more of our rights away. And so that's why it's so important to be engaged, be involved. I can't thank you guys enough for what you're doing.
Thank you so much, Kat. Tell everybody where they can keep up with what you're doing.
Yeah, so follow us on all the social media platforms, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, at Kat Cammack or Rep Kat Cammack. And of course, check us out at catforcongress.com. We appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, Eric Carroll here. Thank you for tuning in to another exciting episode of Dad Talk Today. While we fight for you, we would ask for you to please help fight for us. Like, subscribe to our channel, and ring that bell so you get notifications every time we go live. There's also super chats, patreon.com/dadtalktoday, and other ways you can support our channel. Thank you for being here, and we will see you next time.